Hi, I'm Andy Paredes with Line 6, and we're here with Gear Gods at NAMM 2015, and we're going to be talking about the new Firehawk FX, which we just released. So Firehawk FX is going to give us the ability to have all of the awesome Pod HD models that we were used to seeing in the Pod HD 500X and the Pod HD Pro X, but it's also going to give us a couple extra things. We're going to actually be able to control it via an iOS app. So first of all, let's go take a look at the hardware. So taking a look at the hardware, you're going to notice first off that taking a look at the hardware, you're going to notice that it's really robust bent sheet metals, so it's definitely ready for prime time road construction. One of the biggest requests that we've had from our users is to start using colored foot switches. So that way when you're looking for specifically your stomp box on and off or your modulation on and off, with Line 6 color coding, it's really easy to figure out what's where. Another thing that a lot of people asked for was the fact to get rid of a looper and just give them a 5th foot switch. So that was something that we added over here. So now instead of a looper like we have on the HD 500X, we can actually assign that to reverb, for example. Another thing, taking a look at the app over here. Oh, hold on. Let me point out one other thing here. You'll also notice that we kind of got rid of some of the stuff that some people don't use a lot of as far as the inputs and the outputs. So you'll notice that we have USB, so you can record direct to your computer. You got a Variax in, you got 1/4 inch out headphones. Then we have stereo 1/4 inch and XLR main outs. And we do have an effects loop in stereo for send and return, a guitar input for traditional 1/4 inch in, and then we also have the ability to add an external output. But we don't have anything like SPDIF or MIDI, anything like that, because a lot of people said that if they're not going to use it, we don't want to pay for it. So we were able to take that out. But this guy right here is the new thing, and that's the Bluetooth antenna that's going to allow us to be able to control this from either an iOS or an Android app. So let's go take a look at what that app's going to do. Let me know if you need the screen brighter or anything like that.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Okay. So going into the app, if you're familiar with Amplify, a lot of things are going to look pretty familiar. So let's just start off with, for example, let's say I want to do like a high gain type of thing. I'm going to select for my block types, I'm going to select high gain. And now you're going to notice here you're going to notice all the Pod HD amp models with this little HD icon in the upper right. And then you're going to notice the classic Pod Farm models below it, because some people prefer one over the other. So let's say we want to do a high gain dual rec, or we call it tread plate. So I'm just going to select that. I hit done. And now all of your controls are just on a super simple slider where you can just move things around until whatever sounds good, you can do that. And then because this is an HD amp model, you'll notice down here we also have master, sag, hum, bias, and bias excursion. So you can get in and really tweak the deep tube parameters on this. So some other new things that you will see on here that you wouldn't have seen in the Amplify app, you'll notice we do have Variax control. So I can actually control all the parameters on my Variax if I have one right from here. So I can actually say that I want everything controlled. I can pick any of the 24 models right from here. And then I can also change any of my tuning. So for example, I want to do anything from a drop D to tuning everything down an octave. I can do that right there. Another neat thing here that you wouldn't have seen in Amplify is the ability to assign any of the foot switches. Any of my 5 effects here can be assigned to any of the 5 foot switches. So for example, let's say I've got this delay pedal, but I want that on foot switch 1. I just go over to foot switch 1 on the app and select that. You'll see that it changes to delay, and then if you look below, you're going to see that it changes down there too. So it's real quick, instantaneous changes. And then the last big change for the hardware from Amplify is the fact that our stereo effects loop is actually part of the signal chain. I can move it around if I want to. And so if you have a really cool pedal from a previous use that you just can't live without and you want to use it with Firehawk, what you can actually do is insert that pedal, and then you can assign that effects loop here. For example, let's say I want to maybe take the send down a little bit but turn up the return, and I want that to go on foot switch 4. I just select that, and then what I can do is I can actually even move that wherever I want in my signal chain. So that's pretty much it for the Firehawk FX. Let's go take a look at the new Relay G70 and 75s. Our new relay G70 and 75 series is a huge upgrade from our past relays. So one of the biggest things that people asked for when they looked at our hardware is they said, hey, can you stop using these weird old TA4 cables or 3.5mm cables and just use a regular 1/4" cable? So that's what we did. So when you take a look here, you'll notice this is a traditional 1/4" cable, but because 1/4" cable is kind of a hassle sometimes for live performance because it tends to slip out, what we do is we actually send it out of the box. You're actually going to get a locking threaded cable, so you'll see I can actually get that to lock and that'll stay there. But if you lose this or break this cable, you can use any cable you solder or you can buy in a local store. It's going to work out great. Another thing that a lot of people asked for was to simplify the transmitter and do more cool stuff at the receiver. So we're going to talk about that in a second, but just so you can see how this works. Power's on, we've got 16 channels available to us. If I want to access the battery door, I have to actually press down both sides, which is great because that way you don't accidentally open it. And then you'll see here's your channel change. That light just goes off after a few seconds so you're not wasting battery. So I can change my channels, for example, here. And then if I want to access the batteries, then I have to open that up again, and then I can actually access the AA's. It's nice that it's AA because they're really easy to find. In case you forgot to grab them from your local store before a gig, you can run to a gas station or something, you can find them. So that one last thing I want to point out on the transmitter here that's kind of cool. When these ship, it comes with 6 different color rings, which is going to be really cool. So if you're using multiple transmitters, it's really easy for you to remember what you're doing. So for example, let's say you've got 3 guitars in red, yellow, green, you can code, so you can change those out here. And why that's going to be so cool is once I go over to the transmitter, you'll notice, so once I go over to the receiver, you're going to see that there's a bunch of cool stuff happening here, starting with the LCD screen. So you can name each scene that you create, and then you can also tell it which of the 3 outputs you want it to go to. So for example, when I turn this on the side here, you'll notice that I've got output A, which could be amp 1, maybe like your heavy amp. Output B could be your clean amp, and then when you turn it around on this side, you'll see output C, which is an XLR, so that could go to front of house or go to an amp model. There's some really cool features available there. You'll also notice that it has a built-in tuner output. So if you're running a super high-end strobe tuner on your pedal board and you just want to always go out there, all you have to do is hold this for 2 seconds, and then what's going to happen is it has an internal tuner which you can use, but if you have an external tuner connected to it, it'll just send the output there. So again, a lot of really cool features there. But probably one of my favorite things that's going to happen here is I can actually create different routing scenes. So for example, I've got 2 guitars and I want them to do different things. Here's how that would work. So notice I've got guitar 1, notice it's green because that's what the program it's green because that's the color we already programmed for it, and you'll notice the output is A and C. So what I'm going to do now is I hit this button, and you'll notice now it's a different guitar, I've got a different color, and notice now it's going to a different output. So I could program in any scene that I want. I can program up to 32 scenes depending on my routing. So this really helps people who have a really big system, maybe 2, 3, 4 amps, and you want to be able to route all this stuff around. And you want to be able to route all your stuff around. This is going to actually double for a lot of really cool A/B box, splitting types of situations, as well as acting as a tuner. And I can do up to 32 of those scenes total. Another really cool thing you'll notice on the back side here is on the right side of the unit when you're looking down, you've got an aux in. And a lot of people ask why we did that. The reason why we did that is because sometimes if you have a catastrophic battery failure, meaning you forgot to change your batteries, and you need to unplug your wireless and you need to just go right into your pedal board, you've got to go find your 15 or 20 foot cable, unplug your wireless and plug into it. Well, you can actually have this here. And so the system is smart enough to know that if no transmitter's on and there's a 1/4" cable, it will just boot to that. So you still have all your normal routing stuff, it's just you won't have a wireless transmitter going there. Or you can assign this as a separate, only the aux input, so you could actually run another system, another cable in here as well if you wanted to. So that's it for the pedal. Let's go over and take a look at the amp top situation. So taking a look at the amp top version, we're going to get all the same compatibility and control that we had from the pedal board version. This is really just designed for people who aren't using a pedal board and don't want to hassle with a pedal style format when they're never going to plug into that anyway. Typically, a lot of metal guitar players maybe just plugging it straight into the amp, or a bass player who maybe isn't using any pedal board at all. This is probably going to be the choice for them. So everything you see is the same. I can go through here and you'll see all the colors will change like we saw before. All the same controls. Aux in is on the front versus on the side, and flipping it around, you're going to see all the same ins and outs. So I've got my remote, and basically what remote is that's taking the place of this switch right here for the select, so I can just do that externally, and then all the other outputs are going to be the same. Another thing to point out too is the USB. So if you want to use a USB power supply, you can do that. That's what's actually going to come in the box. But you could also, if we ever do any software upgrades, that'll be a really easy way for you to get into that. And if you want your external tuner, you're going to see that right there. So I'm Andy Perry, this was Line 6. Thank you so much for watching and checking out our new Firehawk FX and Relay stuff with Gear Gods. If you have any other questions, check us out at line6.com. Thanks for watching.